Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Leadership Boy Podcast. I'm Enrique with Vince, my co-host, and we're so excited to have our guest today. And I'm going to let Vince introduce him, but a rich history in our pre-talk here. So I'm excited about this guest.
Absolutely. We are going to Annapolis, Maryland, and we're speaking with Mark Mhley, the founder and CEO of Reformed. We're just so excited to have you, Mark. Thank you for being here. Let's just start off and tell us about you.
Yeah, sure, guys. Enrique, Vince, thanks for having me on the pod. My name's Mark Mhley. I live in downtown Annapolis, Maryland. I have been a naval officer in my professional life. Retired 3 years ago after 22 years of service, mostly as a naval aviator with a stint working for JSOC and ending my career as an instructor a couple blocks from here at the U.S. Naval Academy. So my path to entrepreneurship started pretty late in life when I retired at the young age of about 43 or so, and it's been quite a journey. And I'm looking forward to reviewing with you some of the most important parts of that and what it can contribute to other entrepreneurs who are on this journey.
Yeah, no, we're glad to have you and so excited about your journey as well. And we thank you for all the effort you're putting into an entrepreneurship. I know it's a hard road. It's nothing easy about it. But I know that your military history is undoubtedly adding flavor to that journey that you're on. So tell us a little bit about Reform.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Enrique. So Reformed was born about a year and a half ago, as I was coming to the end of my first year of failing forward as an entrepreneur. When I retired, I dove into an effort to commercialize Navy technology in organic waste digestion, commercializing Navy technology that was going to help the Marine Corps out with renewable energy. After a year of effort, I found that I was working with some great guys. We were about to form a partnership. We'd won a state grant. However, I just began to feel that I was taking too much risk with this effort. And after a year of not having made any money, I felt my runway was running out. And if you're a naval aviator out there, or you know aviation, like all of us do in the military, knowing how long your runway is pretty darn important. And as us pilots of the pointy nose aircraft will tell you, you also need to know, you need to mind your ejection handle. And don't be afraid to use it if you feel you need to give the jet back to the taxpayers, as we used to say. And I got to that point where I needed to eject out of that effort. And I did, with the wise counsel of some really amazing people. I jumped out of that effort before I got more deeply mired into it, having learned a ton, having penetrated the veteran and military spouse support ecosystem in the entrepreneur world, having built a network out. And as I was doing this, as I was getting out of that effort, I didn't know where I was going to go. I built Reformed to be focused on something completely different than I'm doing now. It was organic waste digestion. Well, I don't want to get into the details of the transition, but I spent about 2 months in this period, it was the spring of 2019, restoring and repainting a Navy F-14 Tomcat that was in the movie Top Gun. It was an effort I began when I was instructing at the academy that took about 2 years longer to pull off than we thought. And it was in that effort of repainting this jet that I reconnected with so many people in the veteran community, in the entrepreneur community, beyond the little world I had been in that small effort. And I was inspired to pay forward everything I learned as a 1 year failed entrepreneur. I didn't think I had much to teach, but through the encouragement of others, I realized I did. And I also began peppering the network to find ways that I could give value back to the community. And to answer your question, Enrique, what I ended up doing was began building partnerships with other veteran-owned businesses that wanted to deliver their services to the veteran military spouse community. And it was a slow effort. Well, then the pandemic hit, and I was still uncertain on the path. And remember, this was just, what, 10 months ago? The pandemic was a blessing because it provided an outlet for me to bring together other people who were trying to organize a veteran community and a military spouse community in the Annapolis, DC area. And we were trying to literally build a not physical organization, but we were trying to organize our community of people, of veterans and military spouse entrepreneurs. And we wanted to host a networking happy hour event in downtown Annapolis, Maryland. The pandemic hits, we can't do that. We throw up the antenna and say, hey, we're gonna do this via Zoom, who wants to come? And we had 125 entrepreneurs, military spouses and veterans join that first day. And that one event inspired the growth of Reformed to what it is today, which is it's a two-sided enterprise. One provides a community for veterans and military spouses to connect with each other and provide mutual support. And on the other side, it provides a family of vetted, trusted business services from military spouse entrepreneurs back into the military spouse and veteran entrepreneur community. So that was a mouthful of information, Enrique. Let me see what other questions you have to follow that up.
Well, thank you, Mark. I mean, obviously, I love the fail forward, entrepreneurship, because it's true. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. And thank you for putting together this conglomerate of individuals, especially military spouses in Reformed. And you talked about how you are holding up somewhat in the pandemic and what that has done. You went to Zoom, and here you are, 125 individuals on board. So hearing that you're doing that, is there anything additional you're currently doing, and what's on the horizon for Reformed in the future?
Yeah, Vince. So the right now, fast forward through the entire pandemic, our all call series, which is what those mutual support sessions are called, have now grown. What initially was a group of 125 participants, literally on one call, is now consistent. Now we have 3 different all calls in 3 cities: DC, Annapolis. We have one in Dallas, Texas, and we have one in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Each one of those typically has about 30 to 40 participants of all shapes and sizes of entrepreneurs, veterans and military spouses, and they are nothing more than executive pitch sessions. We just want to hear what you're doing, and we want you to connect with people across our community to give some help and to get some help. And that's exactly what I found we were missing in my area of Maryland back at the start of the pandemic that propelled this to happen. So these all calls have become a powerful way to get help, give help, if you're in one of these cities. But if you're in Honolulu, Anchorage, Alaska, I don't care, if you're in Topeka, Kansas, we want you to parachute into any one of them and share your business as well and get some help from any of those local communities. So the All Call series has been growing nationally. On the horizon is potential growth in 2 more cities out west that we're working on. That has also allowed us to grow a workshop series focused on important topics that veteran and spouse entrepreneurs need help with, like email marketing, tips and tricks to avoid trouble with tax season, how to dominate social media, and other ideas are like how to write a business plan. We're calling this series the Reblue series of impactful workshops. And these are pay what you think they're worth events that are growing alongside the All Call series. And the pay what you think this is worth idea, I encourage, we can talk more about. That has been incredible, because there is no better way to assess the value of something that you're delivering a customer than if you ask them to pay you what you think it's worth. So on the business side, Vincent and Enrique, the Reformed has now grown to about 18 different partnerships that offer everything from payroll, accounting, bookkeeping, tax credits for hiring veterans, a veteran hiring service. We have a virtual CFO service. We have a virtual IT department service. We have a web development service. We have a data analytics service for your website, and everything in between. And all of these services are delivered by veteran and military spouse entrepreneurs, just like all of us. So the All Call series basically helps us funnel potential clients to our family of business services. And it encourages more veteran and spouse entrepreneurs to join our family of vetted services. Our goal, and in the future, we aim to be the one-stop shop for the veteran or spouse entrepreneur who is either starting a business or is expanding a business and doesn't want to waste hours and hours on Google trying to find those basic services. We provide the vetting for them. And in this trusted community of veterans and military spouses, we can assure them that we're providing them the highest quality service at the lowest possible price.
Well, you know, in today's environment and in business in general, trust is one of those factors that are integral to a relationship, right? And you're providing that right off the bat. And the vetting process is something that many people can't, you know, go into, you know, knowing or not knowing what to look for. So I appreciate that endeavor, and I appreciate the effort to making sure that those spouses and military veterans are getting into a relationship that's already been vetted as solid. So thank you for that. Now, we're going to transition into the leadership piece, being the leadership boy. And, you know, I love your background. I was one that was nominated to go teach at the academy one year. So I appreciate that process and
Awesome.
everything that everybody does up there at the academy. But what do you do to continue your development as a leader?
So, and Enrique, that is the $1 million question. It is to, for me personally, my challenge post-retirement, diving in entrepreneurship, has been to stay connected with a team. And it's what I miss most as a solopreneur. And so the most important thing that I have tried to do over the last 3 years, more importantly, over the last year of growth of Reformed, is to treat my partners as my teammates and to grow as a leader in ways that helps us work together better as a team. So what have I done is look for every opportunity to improve the collaboration that my team of partners can do, as remote as we all are, not just because of the pandemic, but because of geography. And so the hardest work I've put in has been to bring this team together and integrate our capabilities, our personalities, our schedules, so that we're not just 18 different companies serving the veteran military spouse community, that we're operating almost as one entity integrated by our business, which will enhance all of those individual capabilities. The old concept of like, how do you make 1 + 1 = 3, right? Vince and Enrique, you guys get that. Everybody in the military gets that. That's exactly what the challenge I see with Reformed integrating these services is: increase the value and the way of our service. And the way to do that comes down to leadership. And it is how we are leading these other individual businesses to collaborate with each other, to integrate better, to better serve our community. And I'll tell you, there's 2 ways I've found to do this, and I'm still working on it. Look for every opportunity you can, particularly as remote as we all are now in our workspace, in our work. Look for every opportunity to collaborate and to bring people together. And then when you do, don't talk at them, listen to them, and let your team begin to drive the conversation, and let the collaboration and the magic happen when you just put them in the same room. And I found that to be a very powerful driver. We just at Reformed had a partners summit last Friday with all of our partners. And you know what we did the first time? This is the first time we did this with we had like 30 people come. We just listened to each other, and it took us the entire hour and a half just to get through introductions of the entire crowd and what people need help with. And I think that's the best way to approach collaboration to become the most effective organization.
No, absolutely. I mean, speaking of collaboration with that listening piece, that component's so huge because it invites the trust factor in, and again, the buy-in, right? So you care, you really are there and tuned, empathetic, and actively listening. And hearing your journey, let's go back to, remember when you signed the dotted line, raise your right hand, as you where you currently are. What sage advice have you received growing throughout the military that you would like to share with the audience?
Oh boy. Yeah, that day for me was July 1st, 1992. Vince, we only have a couple minutes? I'm just kidding. I mean, clearly I'm not short on words today, but you know, the advice that has, let me answer the question that the way I want to answer it. You know what advice I got as I dove into entrepreneurship out of the military was, it was regarding the thing I struggled the most with, which was how to make money. And it's how to value my time, my effort, and my service. Because coming out of the military, I just, it was a constant grind to improve processes, to produce clean and effective operations. There was never this, to achieve the outcome, to return an aircraft safely to the flight deck of a carrier. There was never any consideration of how to deliver something of value, but as I got out, a piece of advice I got as I dove into entrepreneurship was, focus on making the impact, which you've always done as a member of the military. You're very good at that, but keep doing that, because as an entrepreneur, your ability as a veteran to drive impact is going to be followed by revenue. In other words, make the impact and revenue will follow you. And it took me 2 years of post-Navy life to truly realize what that means and to affect that. And so I tell entrepreneurs today, don't dive into entrepreneurship and immediately look for the dollar signs and chase them. If you chase the dollar signs, you might achieve it, but you're going to be miserable. I think all of us as veterans and military spouses are geared towards making a social impact in our communities and in our nation, in our world, because of who we are and how we've grown up. Make that impact in whatever way you think is best, and then focus on how to bring revenue out of that. And for me, it took about 2 to 2.5 years before my and our efforts began to make money and become profitable.
I tell you, the journey from military service to entrepreneur is a tricky one.
Yeah.
Because you're right, we're not used to putting a dollar amount to the effort that we do. It practically, and I've told some people myself, I say, what I do, I love, and I could do it for free for the rest of my life, but it doesn't pay the bills, right? It doesn't put the food on the table. So that contrast is one that we struggle with, and so I'm glad to hear you speak specifically about that, because it is a challenge. And talking specifically about challenges, what challenges have you faced, and how could you advise to get through some of those things?
Yeah, Enrique, you're right, and I wish more veterans and spouses who are considering entrepreneurship, I want them to hear how hard this path is, and that you really do need to consider what your runway is, and don't be afraid to back out of things and pivot and bob and weave, and it ain't pretty. So the answer to your question is, like, the challenges I have, I think are something that every transitioning veteran has, and that is building credibility. You know, as I exited the Navy, the one thing that I quickly realized I lacked was business sense. It was a whole different language. Business knowledge, business sense, business acumen, figuring out the culture. What is this? What is the words? What is a P&L? What is this, like, capital thing? And, like, you got these accelerator. I'm like, all accelerators. It was a whole different language of, like, there's a whole universe out there, and I knew none of that. And so here I am diving into entrepreneurship, and my goal was to become with Reformed, was to become a strategic thought leader, helping veteran entrepreneurs. And yet, Vince, Enrique, I had zero credibility, at least I thought. What I did have was a genuine approach to want to serve the community. And the way I overcame that challenge of building, well, the sense that I lacked credibility, was to devote a lot of effort towards making an impact without concern for making money. And what that meant was building impactful events that supported veterans and military spouse entrepreneurs without charging any money at all, and show them, build that credibility, show them that Reformed is here to help you, and I'm not here to charge you anything. I just want to build your trust, network people together, help everybody solve these problems together, and then go on our way. And you don't owe me anything. And the challenge with that, building credibility like that, building an impact and letting the revenue follow, is you gotta be careful. You don't run yourself out of gas, out of resources, out of money, out of time. And so the challenge overall that I've had is building credibility on a timeline that I can sustain, slowly but surely. And it's working, purely because of the approach that we've taken to build a trusted community that leverages our backgrounds as military veterans and military spouses, the trust that we inherently have with each other, in a non-salesy environment, which are these all calls. Develop those as free events, build the credibility that in our process, that people can come in and truly get help at no cost. And then the challenge is slowly being of running out of runway, and time is being overcome, because now these veteran entrepreneurs trust us, and they're coming to us for business services. And so we're now becoming a sustainable company. So it's taken a lot of time. And that challenge of building credibility, I have found, has been the biggest challenge, and yet the one that is a constant. You're constantly working at it. You guys feel the same way?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that definitely, I also talk about it as far as branding yourself, right? Branding yourself, branding your company, and you have to hit the pavement day in and day out. Is like to the point to build that credibility. And that's definitely something we all deal with, solo entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs themselves. Mm-hmm. And hearing you say that, so strategy wise, when you deal with strategies with either developing the collaboration with a team or strategies of dealing with change, what would you share with the audience about those?
Well, so there's two ways to approach it. In terms of building credibility with my team of partners, like I was telling Enrique a moment ago, I'm always looking for opportunities for collaboration. And that I learned in the military. It was like, you guys, you've been involved in like planning sessions, right? remember jumping into a planning session with like somebody you never, like from a different unit, and you have no idea who they are, right? And maybe their unit has a bad reputation, maybe it has a good reputation, whatever. You begin planning something small, you build trust with each other, and through planning, you begin to take a little more risk and a little more risk with other people and other units. And then in executing what you did, you learn that you build that trust. The same thing is done in business. And I learned that through my experiences involved in so much detailed planning in the military. It's all about building to a successful partnership. Depends on it depends on small exchanges of trust that grow into bigger exchanges of trust. Taking a little risk with somebody and then growing it to taking a little more risk and a little more risk and more risk, and then you're business partners. And it's the same thing. And I think members of the military are very good at that. So strategically, Vince, my focus on building collaboration amongst our partners is based on that. Build on the trust that we already have, but take some risks with people. If they're a small solopreneur who delivers a product, okay, I'm willing to take a risk with you. I want to vet you and talk to your references, but I'm willing to take a risk with you and bring you into our family of services and see how you can support our community. But so I'm building collaboration. My strategic focus is to build and to collaborate with partners by taking more risks with people and along the same lines as I did when I was, active duty, and so always look for the opportunities to collaborate, take risks with partners, vet them, trust them inherently, give them the benefit of the doubt. And these are all things that we as veterans are are pretty used to from, all of our time in the service.
Yeah, you're right about that. And, I mentioned earlier, right, that vetting process is so critical to the trust factor, and that is the glue to all relationships. So a great strategy, and we definitely wish you all the best in that regard. If someone wanted to get a hold of you in terms of finding out more about Reform, how would they do that?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Enrique. So 2 ways. One is our website is reform.com with the number 4 instead of the letter F. And the email address is, just to get in touch with anybody, is info@reform.com. Look forward to getting in touch with and talking to any of the veteran or spouse entrepreneurs out there who are looking for help, who are facing challenging circumstances, whether it's growing a business, creating a business, or anything in between.
That's great. And folks, if you want to get in touch, I will, we'll put that information at the bottom of the screen. We'll add it to the verbiage on all the podcast information so they can get a hold of you. If you want to get a hold of us, the leadershipboy@gmail.com is our email. You want us to discuss leadership topics, you want us to discuss anything in the realm of leadership, you have questions, you want to send us your gear, right? We love wearing your gear, and we'd be happy to entertain all those questions and comments during our email sessions.
Right. And we want to again thank Mark for being here and talk about Reform, being in 3 different states and growing to 2 others in the West. Fail, fast forward. It's awesome. If you're an entrepreneur, military spouse, or veteran out there that's starting a business, have the idea, want to grow, Reform is right there for you. So hopefully you heard this podcast. It definitely adds value to your journey. We thank you, Mark, again for your time and your wisdom. And for everyone out there, next week, we're back on the road. Now we're going to go to Dayton, Ohio, and speak with Nick Rippleton, who is the president of Battle Site Technology. So next week, we'll be in Ohio talking to Nick. We're excited to hear what he has to say, what he's doing in Ohio. But again, Mark, thank you for your time.
Oh, you guys bet. You bet. I like to conclude by reminding people that I truly believe that veteran entrepreneurs and small business are planting seeds for the new American economy. And it's because of all of our challenging experiences since 9/11/2001 and the people they've built us into. And our experiences were very different, but have all made us very resilient and capable, innovative leaders who are all just doing amazing things across the small business community. So thank you for letting me join today and just telling our crazy little story and sharing hopefully some tidbits as well.
Thanks, brother.